Welcome to Brewers Anonymous Monthly. This is our video recap of our monthly members meeting for the Brewers Anonymous Homebreq Club in Orlando, Florida. This video will cover our November 2025 meeting that took place on Friday, November 21st at Ivanhoe Park Lager House. I am Matt, the current vice president of the club and part of the governing board, along with Mike, Trevor, Kenny, and JJ. And to kick things off, we'll start the way we always do with our club motto, strength through unity, unity through Zymergy. And we'll take a moment to thank our ongoing sponsors for the year, Ivanhoe Park Lager House, Home State Brewing Company, the American Homebrewers Association, and Tactical Brewing. We kick things off reminding everyone that we have one more inter-club competition to judge this year for 2025 and for the Club Brewer of the Year competition, and that will be next month in December. It's high ABV beers, and that is beers that have to be 8% ABV or higher, any BJCP style, but 8% or higher. And that will take, the judging for that will take place next month at our December meeting. And like I said, that's going to wrap up our Brewer of the Year for the club. The circuit season is over, and we're going to talk quite a bit about that in this video, but it's not over for the club yet. That will happen next month. We also had our Fantasy Brew-off. We had 7 entrants for this. That's actually a pretty sizable amount for such a unique competition. 7 beers judged. We do have the winners. We'll talk about those at the end. We'll also talk about what those winning beers were. Maybe even mention what some of the other combinations are too, because it was a really fun competition. And if I fail to mention it when we get to the winners, let me thank Dave Fetty and Chris Tracy Rigoni for judging those beers, because without them having done that, the competition would have been a little tough, because I think just about every team had a representative there that night. So thank you, Dave and Chris, for taking on that role. And I hope you enjoyed those beers. There's a vice president update from me, and it was all about Hot and Humid 2026. I was going to say I learned, but I knew going into this that there's never too early to plan Hot and Humid, especially with what we set the bar with 2025. And the thing that I want to get out there most is where more volunteers are needed most, and kind of get that into people's minds as we go forward for the next few months. And this is pretty much the order of what the volunteers that we need are. First, we need cellar hands. That is the one thing that we absolutely positively need. We need, I would say, 2 people so that it's all the judging days are covered. If one person knows they can do all the judging days, that's fine, but 2 is better than none. And what I mean by cellar hands, or 2 is better than 1, 2 is definitely better than 1, but 2 is better than 1. What I mean by cellar hands is these are the only people that touch, after bottle sorting, that ever touch the beers. They are the ones who take the cases off the stack, pull the flights together for judges, pull whatever is going to be the 3rd bottle for best of show, or even 2nd bottle if we need it for 2nd round. It goes back to the first thing I said. They're the only people that are ever going to touch the beers. That frees me up to do the work I need to do, the run of the competition, and chances are I'll also be the judge coordinator, so I'll be doing 2 roles again. I need this 3rd role off my shoulders. I did most of this last year. It wastes so much time, because when I leave the judging area and I'm in a cooler, everything stops. I need the help on this. If you are able to do this, willing to do this, please let me know. 2 people would be optimal. That way it's not all on one person's shoulders. Even if both are there every day of the judging, that just makes both of your jobs, or the one job split between you, even that much easier. But this is needed. This is essential at this point for the way we're doing Hot and Humid. The next thing we need is donation solicitors, and specifically from local breweries and businesses. Our raffle last year was fantastic. I have absolutely no problems with it. But one thing it's one of those things that was more evident when it was over, or at least when all the prize packs were being put together, than before we started parsing out the raffle prizes, is that apart from, well, we have our annual sponsors that we had included in the slideshow, the ones that we start off every meeting with, Tactical, Home State, and Ivanhoe Park Lager House. But for prizes above that or beyond that, we only had 2 local breweries involved, Celebration Brewing and Park Pizza and Brewing. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great that they gave us something. But we have a dozen more we could reach out to, and we have other bars and bottle shops and area beer and community related things that businesses we could reach out to that all of us have some kind of connection with. I'd like to make a more concerted effort. I'd like everyone to get involved and see what we can do to get local businesses and prizes in. And again, I am not complaining that we didn't have them last year. Just didn't really notice that we didn't until all was said and done. So now that that spotlight's been shown, let's see if we can do something better with that. I think this is a very easy goal, actually. I think this is something with just a little bit of help from everybody. We can add a pretty sizable local representation to our raffle this year. We also need brewers. Now, this was, when I presented this, it was kind of a concept or an idea. I say concept has come since then. It was an idea to get more brewers and more different variety of beers in our judges' bags. And like I said, it was just kind of an idea when I presented it the other night, but now there's kind of been a concept applied to it. And I think this is something we're going to do. So we're going to need multiple brewers willing to brew beer for the judges' bags. And what that concept is, we'll talk about more probably in the next meeting. And I think that'll get people more interested. So more on that to come, definitely. More on all this to come. And then, in kind of the last of the wish list, if we could put together a small improvement committee just to get some other ideas that are not mine or board members' ideas, and ideas of like, what can we do to enhance the presentation, if anything? What can we do for the competitor experience? Like, when competitors enter their beers, if they win, they get their name announced in the presentation, they get a medal, they kind of have their moment in the sun. Their few minutes of that competition's like the equivalent of whatever the 15 minutes of fame would be for that particular competition. Now, when a competitor enters and doesn't win, the whole experience kind of ends there. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone get something and we blow our budget to give some kind of something to everybody. But I'm saying, what can we do to follow up after the awards are done with the entrants to kind of enhance the experience? I'm sure, I know the automated Reggie message goes out thanking them, but there seems like something we can do more to just kind of make the entire experience of having entered and sit through the awards and whatnot, just to enhance it just a little bit. And I'm looking for ideas on that. And any event additional ideas or additions to the event, but however you want to say that, I'm completely open to. I would love, I don't know what kind of budget we're going to have or even what kind of opportunity we'd have, but I would love to have this in a dedicated Reddit space one evening, a Saturday preferably, where we're the only thing in that building or wherever we do this. I don't know. Well, time will tell on that more when we get closer to the event. So that's the start of what I'm looking for Help in Hot and Humid. I will be talking about this every month and adding to this or changing this, but help is needed. I was happy to do what I did last year, and I was happy it was well received, but I can't keep up that pace every year. I need the help. It's that simple. And speaking of hot and humids, we have dates. These were presented as tentative dates at the meeting, but these are now going to be our dates. So let's run through these real quick. May 2nd is when entries open. We're going to open on Saturday at 9 in the morning. May 10th through the 23rd will be the delivery entry. 23rd will also serve as the end of entry window, but we'll probably sell it before that. But it's more important to note that about somewhere between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern on May 23rd, the system will close for entry edits. You're not going to be able to edit anything. May 24th will be bottle sort. That's the Sunday after. That worked fantastic last year. I want to do that again. I want to hit the ground running after delivery is done. If we happen to get some entries after that, we'll deal with it. It's not going to be a lot if that happens. I'm not sure that's ever actually happened to us, but if it is, it's not going to be like an overwhelming amount of bottles that it's going to throw a huge wrench in the work. So let's do it Sunday right after delivery entry. Worked out great. We had a huge amount of people. Got through it fast, accurately, had lunch, hung out. Actually became kind of a minor event for the club. Judging. That's going to start on May 30th and 31st, and it's going to be an open window from 1 to 5 p.m. There's not going to be specifically scheduled times. Show up. I will put you to work. We are not going to let 1 minute slip by this year. Then that follows up with June 6th and 7th. June 13th right now is the planned end of first round judging, but we can incorporate the 14th if we are behind. Right now, the 14th is planned to be best of show at 1 p.m. And again, if we end up taking the 14th and putting in the first round judging, June 27th will be our backup date. And then June 27th is our planned awards with a backup of June 29th. That's a Saturday and Sunday. Now, you've undoubtedly noticed a big gap there between the 14th and 27th. That is to accommodate something that a lot of us want to do, including myself, and that's HomebrewCon. And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. I would like to go to HomebrewCon. I don't want to continue to work through every event that there is during Hot and Humid. I would like to do things as well. I am as passionate a homebrewer as I am a judge and as I am a competition coordinator. So I want to go to HomebrewCon. And I'm opening that date not only for myself, but for everybody else that wants to go too. Not that this Hot and Humid is going to stop anybody but me. But also on a practical side, with it being in North Carolina, which again, we'll talk about here shortly, I have a feeling a lot of the Florida area judges are probably going to go as well. So there's probably not going to be that many people. But I'm keeping that weekend open because I want to go. I like to do things too. JJ had a secretary update, starting with the 2026 board nominations. Now, there was a QR code on the screen at the meeting, but I took that down because the nomination form is for active and paid members only, and this is going on a public forum on YouTube, so didn't want to have that link out there for people that weren't even involved with the club. It's that simple. And our elections will take place at the December meeting, and then the results announced after the presentation. If you didn't get a chance to scan the QR code, the link is on our Discord server, so go ahead there and put in your nominations. I will say, to kind of give you an update on where things are, Mike is going to rerun for president. I'm going to rerun for vice president, and JJ is going to rerun for secretary. So we have 3 nominations there already. That doesn't. If you have other people you want to nominate for those positions, by all means do. But those 3 at least have 1 nomination. Trevor and Kenny are going to step away this year after a great couple years of service. So thank them both for that. But they're going to step away. So that leaves treasurer and archivist open. So if you have some ideas or even want to run yourself, go out and fill out the nomination for that or any of the positions. He also held a active member club vote, and this is about excess club equipment. And as I just mentioned, Kenny's stepping away from archivist, but one thing he did do before handing off the role was go through everything that we do have that is club owned and made a list of things that we use and things that we have not used since he's been archivist. And the things that are not used, we took that list and we put it up for a vote. Is the club okay with us selling those assets off? Starting with, I think, opening up to the club to club members to buy them and then moving it on to some other platform. I'm not sure what. I don't know. I know there's I believe there's a Facebook group for Florida equipment sales. I don't know Facebook that well. Whatever the case may be, the vote was, are we okay with selling this? And it was unanimously yes. There was no nays. So we are going to sell off the excess equipment and put that money right back into the club. We moved on to what we've done since last meeting, starting with the Space Coast Beer Fest. This was a pretty fun festival. I love this part of Florida. I was very happy to go out there and pour some beers, and it's a pretty cool event. First off, we saw a lot of our friends from Saws. This is their hometown, so they had 2 tents there. They had a double tent going on. I think one was purely merchandise, which I actually bought a T-shirt from them. I probably shouldn't wear that to the meeting. At least our meetings, but that's besides the point. The point is this was it was a fun festival, decent size. What was really cool is that they have I was going to say a pavilion, but it's not even really a pavilion. It's a building. There's a building in this park that they reserved or held on, or roped off, whatever you want to say, for VIP and for brewers only. And in that building were the cleanest bathrooms on site. They also had food, and then there's a sizable amount of homebrew clubs there. There's a homebrew club keg competition, and it was for VIPs and for brewers to vote on. So I think there was like eight kegs, something like that. It was actually a really decent amount of kegs. And out of those, Brewers Anonymous took second place for Honolulu Heat Wave, which is the pineapple habanero cider by Molly and Jason Breckling, the couple on the left. So they took second place out of all of those beers, and they got, what was it? It was a gift card to the homebrew club of their choice, which they picked Sanford Homebrew Supplies. And yeah, that was a great cap to what was a great day. So really fun event. Looking forward to doing that one again. That same day was Windermere Craft Beer Festival, and there's the branded tent, as you see. And again, as almost inevitably happens at all our festival appearances, the line was forming quick and stayed steady until the event was over. So another great showing. We also had Orlando Beer Fest, and then again, another sizable line, big crowd. I think it's the biggest attended beer festival in the area. It may be the biggest in number of vendors as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe it is the most attended one there. And I think we kicked just about damn near everything that day. So another great appearance. Orlando Beer Fest, we do just about every year without fail, if not every year without fail. It's on our backyard. We're an Orlando Homebrew Club. So we are there to represent the hobby of homebrewing for Orlando each year. This also happened. This was as cool to be a part of as it was to even be a thing. And what this is the American Homebrewers Association, the now independent from the American Brewers Association. The American Homebrewers Association is really getting their hands back into the community, like in a way that I don't recall seeing. I've been a member for quite a while. And one of the things that they're doing, they have their Zymergy live events with some, like, I guess homebrew celebrities, you could say. They're also doing these happy hour events where they're more homebrew brewer and club focused and whatnot. I think it's the second one they've done. So this might be an idea that's still evolving. But in this case, this was a Zoom stream for anyone that had the link, members or otherwise, if it was shared. And it was about building better homebrew clubs. And out of I think Drew Beecham hosted it. That's the gentleman in the upper left-hand corner. You may know his name or even his picture from experimental brewing and other things, homebrew related. Out of, I think he said 1,700 registered clubs in the AHA, they picked 5 to talk about the subject. And Brewers Anonymous was one of those 5. And I was thrilled to death to represent Brewers Anonymous in this subject. And it was a really eye-opening experience. We do things different. I wouldn't say it's completely apples to oranges different, but we do things different than other clubs. And one of the things that we do that kind of stood out right away is that we seem to be embracing more modern tools than other clubs, starting with Discord. Discord was thrown around as an idea from a couple clubs in this meeting, and I piped right in and said, we are reliant on Discord because you can reach people so fast and so easy. And 2 of the members had reached out to me after this to be members of our Discord server to see what we're doing, which I was happy to do. There's some other things too, a lot of online resources that we're using that they are not tapping into or didn't know about. It was, like I said, it's very eye-opening that we're doing things different. However, along with that, some of the things they suggested too, I took as, we could and probably should be doing that. So this was a really good conversation for, I think, everybody involved, and I hope for the people watching. And again, incredibly cool that we were one of the 5 clubs asked to speak on this subject. And along with that, without getting into the details of the email exchange that followed this, we were asked to do something that may be a huge benefit to the club. It's not official yet, but I can kind of just give this slide as what this idea was suggested and where it might be going. That's all I really want to say. And that's all I really have to say about it. There's no more to follow that yet. All right, moving on. We talked about the return of HomebrewCon, which I just had kind of not even mentioned. I flat out talked about in the Hot and Humid segment. So that is going to be June 19th and 20th. And it is, well, here's what we know. It's June 19th and 20th. That's a Friday and Saturday, I believe. It's in Nashville, North Carolina, one of my favorite places to visit in general, beer and otherwise. They will have Club Night. Club Night is it is the biggest homebrew festival, period, anywhere. And they're bringing it back. There's going to be a homebrew expo. There's going to be seminars. I would love to look into what we might be able to do at a seminar, but I also don't want to do too much. Or I don't want to take the Hot and Humid off my plate for that weekend and make it a HomebrewCon working weekend. So, I just want to see. What opportunities are there. I'm not going to say yes or no that we'll pursue any. There's also the NHC final round of judging and then the NHC award ceremony. And moving on, this is the last call. In fact, I would say if you're watching this the day it's posted, that is the last call to be part of the 12 Brews of Christmas. Anything after that is probably too late. The sign up is on Discord, but we did have, well, actually, I think we had 2 slots left, and I think we're down to 1 now. So, and that may be filled by the time this is posted. So, 12 Brews of Christmas is coming. It's probably safe to say it's too late to sign up for it, but keep it on your, if you're interested in it, keep it on your radar. We're going to have halfway through next year, we'll have the 12 Lagers of Summer. That's not its name, but that's the concept. That's the idea. We have some competition updates. We have a competition update, I should say, because it's the last one, and that is the Best Florida Beer medalists that we had, and we had quite a few. We have Sean Recksteiner, silver for his Hellesbach, gold for Baltic Porter, Graciano Miranda, bronze for Weizenbach, and bronze for specialty wood-aged beer. Mike Thompson, silver for English Porter, Chris Newberg, gold for American Strong Ale, Eric Gomez, silver for Hazy IPA, David Fetty, gold for Belgian Dark Strong Ale, Jason Breckling, silver for mixed style beer, gold for fruit beer, Austin Brown, silver for sweet mead, and silver for spice herb vegetable beer. Matt Hunter, that's me, gold for California Common, silver for American IPA, and I got the gold best of show. I was very excited about that, I'm not going to lie. And then Molly Breckling, gold for Common Cider, and gold best of show mead and cider. So we brought home the gold for both best of show categories. Great showing. Great end of the season. We were first with 38 points, followed by Hogtown Brewers with 31 and MASH with 25 points. And that leads us into the finale of the season, which is our Homebrew Club of the Year win for 2025, which, if you don't know by now, is our 3rd in a row. It's our 4th overall. That's something we haven't talked, I don't think, enough about this year, although we did talk about it at the meeting a lot. It's our 4th overall, but it is a three-peat. It's an official three-peat. And congratulations to Brewers Anonymous for the three-peat. Here's the breakdown of our points for 342 total points. Interestingly enough, Coconut Cup and Hogtown, we did not do well in. I think we might have been second in Coconut Cup. I know we were 3rd in Hogtown. But despite that, we had more than enough points for the Club of the Year again. And then that leads to the Florida Circuit Homebrewer of the Year, Buddy Greer with Jax. He won 46 points. Congratulations to Buddy. But this screenshot we also thought felt important to share because this is the top 10, and out of 10 of those, 5 out of 10 of those, I should say, half of those are Brewers Anonymous. I'm there at 4th, followed by David Fetty, then J.J. Ocampo, Eric Rodriguez, and Mike Thompson. Us 5 are Brewers Anonymous members, so out of the top 10, half of those are Brewers Anonymous members, which really, I mean, does it come as a surprise? That was probably the most obnoxious thing I've ever recorded in one of these recordings. So we have or had some upcoming festivals. One of them was Tom and Dan's Bad at Business. That was the next day after the meeting. And this actually, we're going to talk more about it because the report will be next month. But I do want to say that we went from having nobody signed up. This all happened in 4 days. In 4 days, we had nobody signed up to 4 people signed up. And by the end, we still had 4 people, but they weren't the same 4 people that had signed up, if that makes sense. Like, people had to drop out and other people stepped in. That's one thing I love about this club. There's a lot that I love about this club, but one thing that I love about this club is that when we're faced with a situation like this, we have the resources and the willingness to make these things happen, even with that short amount of time. So it's like kind of really sort of short of a miracle that we actually were able to attend this, and then we've got stuff to talk about this festival. There are some numbers to share on this that are crazy. So that's just one thing I absolutely love about this club. I wanted to thank everybody that piped in or jumped in, whatever you want to say, to eventually make this happen with enough people, enough beer, and then we have some stories to tell. So thank you everyone for that. And I can't say it enough. I love that about this club. We got some things on our 2026 calendar already, starting with Science on Tap. That's the Orlando Science Center. This is always a fun one. I'll at least go. I may brew for it. Right now, I'm saying I'm not because it's the holidays, or the holidays are coming, and I don't feel like brewing, but January 24th is a little ways away. Who knows? Who knows what the new year will bring? Might bring a desire to jump right in head first, or kind of be on the outskirts and enjoy the festivals. I don't know. I don't know. Too early to tell. But let's continue here. Then I believe that's really close. That's probably 2 weeks. Yeah, that's got to be 2 weeks. It can't be just a week. So 2 weeks after that, the Cocoa Village Brewers Bash, I have to go to this. I have said for so many years I want to go to this because of where it is. It's again, this is over in the Space Coast, one of my favorite areas in Florida. This is probably one of my favorite locations in Florida for events. I've never been to this. Every year I say I'm going to go. So I'm going to say it again. Hopefully I'm not jinxing myself. I really want to go to this. I don't even want to brew. I just want to go to this, but we'll see. I hope I just didn't jinx myself again. Let's continue. And we have the same situation we had this past March where Hamlin, Hogtown, and Pints and Paws are on the same day. We've already made the concerted effort that we are doing Hamlin. Pints and Paws is a very decent possibility, but it's not locked in. Unfortunately, Hogtown, I think, is already dropped off our schedule. It's the farthest away. It's not our turf, as it were. I mean, if we got anyone interested in home brewing, they're just going to join Hogtown Brewers anyway, which is not the reason not to do it. It's the resources. We don't have the resources to do three. We have to pick the two. And right now, maybe even the one, we may want to kind of pace ourselves this year because we kind of hit burnout in these last two festivals. We'll probably talk about that with the Tom and Dan thing more next month. But yeah, Hamlin for sure right now is all we know that we're doing. Now, the BJCP training updates. There's no real updates to the curriculum, but there is some updates to the entire program, and that is the 2026 judging exam. On this, it said it'll probably be July 11th. That has changed in 48 hours. It is now July 11th, period. It is registered with the BJCP. We got the confirmation email. We will be doing this July 11th. It will be administered again by David Fetty, and we have our 3 proctors lined up. Now, those may change because it's a long time between now and July, but we have at least 3 that we could submit their names and get us on a schedule. So that will be popping up on the BJCP exam schedule any day now. It's usually within a week, or at least it was last time. Right now it's 12 seats. That could extend to 15, but 12 right now is the maximum. Now, with that in mind, if you missed out on the entire program last year, kind of put together what I think is a realistic and not aggressive schedule to kind of keep in the back of your mind if you want to get into judging. This, if you start in January, if you kind of make your resolution to be a beer judge, start the online training in January at learn.brewersanonymous.com. Starting in January, you can really do a nice, easy pace without too many gaps where you would forget things and be done by late March, early April, and take your first shot at the online exam. And this will give you enough time to, if you don't pass the first time, you'll at least know the exam will tell you where you fell short. You'll know what to study a little more on and take it again and still have time to reserve your seat for the judging exam. And then from April to June 30th, judge in circuit competitions. If none other, hot and humid. Judge for practice, but there'll be half of them. Well, we're at the halfway point, so half of them will be taking place in the first half of 2026, so you can get practical experience. And then July 11th, of course, is the judging exam. That's 6.5 months, almost a little short of 6.5 months. That's, I think, a pretty good pace without being aggressive and having to cram like I had to with mine. Mine I did in 90 days. I would never, ever suggest that to anybody, ever. I think 6 months is that's a good pace. So consider that if you haven't been able to start the program yet, or if you need to restart it. I think this is a pretty good schedule and doable schedule, and also leaves you time for things that come up that you're not planning. So that's my suggestion. And moving on from that, if you're looking to judge mead, JJ and I have had a discussion about opening a mead program and adding that to our online system, our learning system. Now, when I say we talked about it once after a meeting for about 3 minutes. So I don't have any details. There's no details to share, but the conversation has been started. So we're looking to expand our learning management system to include mead judging. And of course, everything that we're doing for this education program is at learn.brewersanonymous.org. If you haven't visited that lately or forgot that was a thing, that's where it's at. And that leads us to the 2025 Austin P. Harris Brewer of the Year standings. And we've got a shocking turn of events where it seemed even just a few weeks ago, or months ago, I should say, that Eric Rodriguez had run away with it, Austin Brown has caught up, and they are tied at 200. And that is largely in part to the almost uncountable. That's not the right word. The numerous amount of Best in Show awards Austin has gotten. Those add up quick. So it's become a race. It's going to come down to the December Interclub Challenge. And JJ Ocampo has, I think, firmly secured third with 123, because I think the one below him, I think statistically, can't even cross into third. I forget what the number is, but I think it's too far off. So more on that in December. Until then, here's what we got coming up. Of course, well, Tom and Dan's Pass with Science on Tap will be our next event, our next appearance, I should say, at a festival. And as I said, we will have our Fantasy Brew-off winners announced. And here they are. Third place was the Hunsworts. That was me and my wife. And our ingredients, the ones that would stand out, were our specialty malt of smoked malt, and then our two adjuncts of watermelon and hot pepper. And we made a British Golden Ale, smoked British Golden Ale with hot pepper and watermelon. Second place was Claremont Vikings, and their showcase ingredients included rye malt, Nectaron hops, coconut, and honey. And then in first place was the Yeasty Boys, and their featured ingredients were specialty malt of chocolate malt, coffee or cacao nibs. They went with coffee, and they made a coffee porter with their selected ingredients. And I did have that, and it was a very good beer. For a fantasy beer, just in general. It's actually it's more normal than a fantasy beer typically is, but in a good way. It's like that could be bought at a tap room. So congratulations, everybody. Thank you, everybody that participated in this. 7 entries. That's a lot for these strange ingredient beers. So great job on everybody's entries. So we capped off the night with a celebration. We had a cake. We're going to see that in just a second. We had the cup out, had people take pictures of the cup, and the last thing was to enjoy the surprise club beer. And what that meant was Chris Tracy Rigoni, who I mentioned earlier, he had judged the fantasy beers. He was the president for 4 years. He was president when I started with the club, and he inherited a box of Bombers, 12 22-ounce beers from the previous president, who him and the rest of the board in the very first year of Brewers Anonymous brewed a barrel-aged beer and held on to these bottles for a special occasion. Chris had handed them off to me when I went to get some things for Hot and Humid from this year, and I'd been kind of waiting for a special occasion to try these beers, and a three-peat, our first of possibly other three-peats, but our confirmed first three-peat, seemed the perfect place to open those beers and enjoy them. And that's what we did. And now let's take a look. I usually don't do this for meetings, but I took some pictures since this was kind of our party for a three-peat. Took some pictures to share with everybody that couldn't make it. First, here's the cake. This is the same image as you saw for the congratulations on the three-peat. Publix cake, can't beat it. It's delicious. Cake was cut and distributed, as you see. In fact, there's David on the right, or I guess in the middle, technically. That's Christy on the right, and David in the middle, and Chris Tracy Rigoni on the left. So there's the name face with the name I just talked about. So we handed out the cake. We announced the Fantasy Brew-off winners. There's Ian on the left, and Nate in the middle, representing the Yeasty Boys, telling us about their beers and how they went about getting to that. Here's some pictures of the party. There's Chris with Trevor, Charles in the background, Mitch, trying to identify everybody. Now, of course, I said that and missed people. I think I see Nathan, Joe, and Tom, and okay. I wish I hadn't done that, because now I can't see who everybody is there, and I feel bad if I miss anybody. So apologies who I'm missing on there. There's another picture of people enjoying the cake and enjoying the bottle share. And then we wrap up the photo portion of this with that's the state trophy being put back in the trophy case that I was in for the past year by Katie, the beer tender that usually takes care of us at our meetings. It's back where it belongs for another year. We'll see how much longer it stays after that. But that is just about it, except for reminding us that our merch store is online. We need to come up with a dynasty design now. We have our legacy design. We need to update the legacy design with 2025, and now I need a dynasty design, a three-peat design. I don't know what that looks like yet. Well, something I'll have to toss around and see what we can get up on there available for 2026. And that is officially it now. So thank you for watching. Our next meeting is December, and it is the 19th. Mike did announce a date. We weren't entirely sure what date we were going to have it on because we had to accommodate. We don't pay for our meeting spots, so we have to accommodate when these venues are rented for Christmas parties and whatnot. And that's, as the 19th is very close to Christmas, we weren't sure we're going to be able to secure it, but we do have it now. So it is going to be on the 19th. And that's at Ivanhoe Park Loggerhouse again. All right. That is it. I'll say it one more time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next meeting.